daily or weekly weigh-ins? Which is better for fat loss? Now, the answer might surprise you, although it's backed by new research covered by Dr. Bill Campbell in his latest issue of Body by Science. Now, if you've ever felt frustrated by the scale, which who hasn't, whether it's just not moving or it's bouncing up and down like a trampoline, you're definitely not alone here. But if I told you that there's an easy way to use the scale as a tool to accelerate fat loss, what would you think that is? Well, stick with me. I'm going to explain exactly how to do it and why it works. But let's talk about the scale itself. What is it? For most people, it's not a fun experience. You step on, one day it's up 3 pounds, the other day it's down 2 pounds. Maybe it has been exactly 175.33 for 6 days in a row or even for weeks. And you develop this emotional response like the thing is out to sabotage your progress. And of course, the scale is not the enemy, right? It's just data, but we are not necessarily using it the right way. And therefore, we get super frustrated when it's telling us something that is opposite of what we think we're doing. And then when we use it the right way, it can definitely help you win at the game. So there was a study, the one I mentioned earlier, that compared 2 groups of people trying to lose fat over 6 months. Now, listen to the differences. One group weighed themselves every day. That's 7 days a week. The other group weighed themselves 5 days a week. So we're not even comparing weekly to daily. We're comparing 7 versus 5. Now, the group that weighed in daily lost 3 times more fat, about 20 pounds versus just 7 pounds. That is a huge difference for such a simple habit. And yet I am not surprised. I've been recommending daily weigh-ins for a long time. And there's always so much pushback about obsessiveness and that being, too frequent because your weight doesn't change daily based on fat. And that is true, but it also creates awareness. And that awareness is what leads to some nuances and some better understanding of what's happening to your body that is not related to fat loss, so that you have greater confidence that over time you are inducing fat loss. And so behind the scenes, what's happening is that when you weigh in every day, you start to notice a connection between your actions and your results. You recognize how certain meals, certain behaviors, certain training sessions, even stress, alcohol, lack of sleep, all of these things affect your progress independent of fat loss. And that can be super powerful from a biofeedback and lifestyle perspective. Now, the other benefit that's more of a mathematical one is that weighing out every day allows you to smooth out those frustrating day-to-day weight changes, those fluctuations I just mentioned that give you awareness. You're able to smooth those out by averaging out over, say, 2 or 3 weeks as a moving average, because your body weight changes naturally every day from things like water retention, glycogen, carbs, which result in glycogen, hormonal changes, men and women, how much sodium you ate, your gut content, even inflammation from a heavy lifting session, and things like illness and lifestyle stress changes. So if you take a weekly or biweekly or thrice weekly average, moving average, you can focus on the trend instead of freaking out about the individual spikes. And I think that's really powerful. And if your goal is fat loss, not just weight loss, this is the consistency that helps you stay on track and not second guess yourself, because you're not hung up by the fact that the weight is going up and down. You say, okay, I get that it's going to go and fluctuate due to things not having to do with fat, and I'm going to have awareness. And then in addition, I can see over time, based on the trend, that it is dropping or increasing based on fat. Now, the one thing that's I probably get the most pushback on is, but the scale stresses me out, right? I have an emotional gut reaction to the scale. And that's a totally valid concern. And on one hand, I can cop out a little bit and say, if weighing in daily messes with your mindset or makes you feel bad about yourself, this strategy might not be for you. And that's totally okay. But I will also say that I've had many clients who are in that situation. They had a little bit of fear over it. And working together, we had them weigh every day and notice that, oh, your weight does fluctuate for reasons that have nothing to do with gaining fat or losing fat. And that's awesome. And that kind of awareness then takes away some of that emotion. That logical side of the brain takes over and you're able to track things. Now, there are other ways to track fat loss that I would recommend using even in addition to the scale, not necessarily instead of it. how your clothes fit, progress photos, your body circumference measurements, your biofeedback, how you feel during your training, your recovery, and so on. There's so many things that we use to track body composition changes. And for some people, those methods tend to be much more effective and less stressful than the scale. But then when you bring the scale into it, it's just an extra piece of data. If you're okay with using the scale, then awesome. Just remember, the number on the scale itself, day to day, is not what's defining your success. That's feedback, that's information, but it's really the trend over time that's going to help you out. So if you're ready to try daily weigh-ins, it's very simple. I'd recommend using a digital scale to make it even more convenient. Get a Bluetooth scale that sends the data to your smartphone, to your health app on Apple, Google, or Android. And that way you just hop on, it beams it to your device, and you're good to go. Weigh yourself at the same time every day, ideally first thing in the morning after you use the bathroom, and then document it, right? Like I said, you could do it digitally. You could even write it down on a piece of paper. And then at the end of the week, you can do a moving average. I'd recommend more of a 2 or 3 week average just to really smooth it out. The app that I use is called MacroFactor. I'll include a link below. And if you use my code WITS and WEIGHTS, all one word, you can try it out for free. I use it. My clients use it. I'm a huge fan of it because it can dynamically calculate your metabolism. And it does so by having, guess what? Your daily weigh-ins along with your food log. And so that's how we can measure really what's going on over the long term. You don't have to freak out and you're good to go. So your challenge is to weigh yourself daily for 2 weeks, track your weekly average, and just see what patterns emerge. Don't freak out. Just see what patterns emerge. And if you try it out, let me know in the comments below. Let me know how it worked for you. And if that's not the way you like to measure progress and you've had success, share your favorite way to measure. I'd love to hear that as well. And of course, if you want more practical evidence-based strategies for fat loss and building muscle, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.